Shir lecture, Understanding Ones in Conditional Gitting and its Implications for Exile, Teshuvah, and Yichud. This lecture is for people who want to begin understanding a sugya that touches on deep halakhic and spiritual foundations. The sugya of Ones in Gitting, that is, whether an unexpected or coercive event fulfills a condition in a get, may seem niche at first, but it reaches far into our understanding of choice, intent, exile, and redemption. We begin in Sefer Devarim. If a man sends away his wife, he must give her a Sefer Keritut, a document of separation. This is the Torah's foundation for the halakot of Gittin. But in later sources, the sages introduced the idea of conditional Gittin, where a get is only valid if a certain event happens. For example, the husband might say, "This is your get if I don't return by the end of the year," or "This is your get if I die from this illness." The Mishnah in Masechet Gittin describes these cases and what makes the get valid or not. If the condition is clear and it's fulfilled, the get is valid. If not, it's invalid. But what happens if the condition is fulfilled, but in a way the husband didn't expect, through something called ones, a form of compulsion or unforeseen event? The Gemara on Daf Ayin Amud Aleph gives the classic example. A man says, "This is your get if I die from this illness," and then he gets mauled by a lion. That's not the same illness. Did the condition happen or not? Rava says, Meshab Shahi, you have to follow the reasoning of the person, not just his words. The Bavli says, this is not a valid get. A lion attack is an ones. It's not what he had in mind. But the Yerushalmi says something surprising. It distinguishes between two conditions. One where he says, if I die from this illness, that wouldn't include a lion attack. But if he says, if I don't recover, then even a lion attack is not recovering. So the get is valid. The Rambam in Hilkot Gittin, Perek Het and Tetzayin seems to split the difference. He says it's a safek. We don't know the husband's intent, so we treat it as a doubtful get. That means the woman might need a new get to be sure she's divorced. It's not pasul and it's not kasher. It's in between. Later commentators like Tosafot bring the Yerushalmi. The Rashba and Ritva ask whether an ones can ever count as fulfilling a human condition. It depends on a deep question. Is ones kemesh she'ose? Is someone who is coerced considered as if they did the act themselves? Reb Boruch Ber, the Rosh Yeshiva of Kamenetz, takes this further. He says the Rambam is not confused. He holds that everything depends on das, the inner kavana of the person. If the husband meant any kind of non-recovery, then a lion attack counts. If he meant only the illness, it doesn't. And since we can't know, this is the halakhic framework. But something much deeper is being hinted at here. The Midrash says that Hashem and Am Yisrael are like a couple. The Torah is our ketubah. Har Sinai is the wedding. The Beit HaMikdash is the home. When Hashem sent us into Galut, it was as if he gave us a get. But did he really want to separate from us? Or was it an ones, something forced by our actions? In that case, Galut is not a full separation. Just like a get given under compulsion might not count. Galut might not count either. The love remains. The covenant is still there. In our own lives, this plays out again and again. We have moments of inspiration, a sense of clarity, connection, inner peace. That's like being in the Holy Land. But then we fall into materialism. We compromise the bris, the covenant. Whether by not guarding our eyes, our speech, our commitments to Shabbos, or personal Kedusha, we enter personal galut. And the pain of that is real. It's real. Because after we fall, especially when we repeat the same mistake again and again, we begin to lose hope. We think maybe we're not cut out for it. Maybe our bond with Hashem is over. This is where safek enters, not as a failure, but as a key. The Baal Shem Tov teaches that Yichudim, spiritual unifications, can be made by every Jew. But his path to that vision began with a vision of heaven, where even massive sins were being forgiven. The light of the Hida, the deepest part of the soul, can illuminate even the darkest corners. That's what makes Teshuvah Me'ahava possible, a return from love that transforms sin itself into merit. But it's only possible when we realize that the separation was never real, that what seemed like a break was an ones, a necessary illusion, to allow a deeper bond to surface, one that's not conditional, one that doesn't rely on us getting it right every time. Teshuvah Me'ahava is not something that comes after we've cleaned ourselves up. It's the opposite. It's when we've fallen repeated doubted, and despaired, and yet something within us still cries out. That something is the yechida, the essential self, beyond identity, beyond behavior, beyond ego. When that light awakens, it gives us strength. First to return with joy and passion. Then, even later, to do the more painful work, the teshuvah meira, the remorse, the regret, the careful rebuilding, not from despair, but from confidence, because we've touched something that can't be broken. The Rambam's Seifik is not technical, it's existential. You may not know where you stand, but that not knowing is your bridge. That's the very space where a new bond is revealed, a bond beyond doubt. And that's what Yichudim really are. Not magic, not mysticism, but a radical shift in consciousness to see that separation itself was a tool for deeper unity. Like Reb Boruch Ber analyzing the depth of a halakhic case to find its true intent, so too we go into the depths of our own contradiction and find that the pain itself was never severed from the source. Even the arguments among Jews, the disputes that led to destruction, the infighting that continues, are part of that. When they're for the sake of heaven, we understand. But even when they're not, even those disputes can eventually reveal a deeper truth. That all the tension, all the machloket, all the fragmentation was waiting to be woven into harmony. And when that harmony comes from each of us doing our part, drawing light from halacha, agada, Chassidus, and soul, we reveal that the get was never given. The exile was never final. The seifek becomes clarity. The ones becomes oneness. And then, on that day, Hashem will be one, and his name will be one. In your own heart, in the Jewish people, and in all of creation.